Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle corporate governance. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little stuffy, right? But I promise you, it's actually the secret sauce behind every successful company. And we're going to make it super simple, all using one big idea. So, let's dive in.
Okay, to really get this, let's just forget about boardrooms, spreadsheets, all that corporate stuff for a minute. Instead, I want you to picture this. You're on the high seas. You've got a ship, a crew, and you're a pirate.
I mean, this is the core of it, isn't it? You've got to decide where the treasure is, but you also have to make sure your crew doesn't overthrow you, the ship is in one piece, and there's some basic rules so it's not total chaos. That whole challenge, right there, that in a nutshell is governance.
So, what is corporate governance really? Well, think of it like the operating system for your pirate ship. It's the whole set of rules, practices, and structures that decides how you plan the voyage and how you manage it. It's all about setting the ship's course. Now, the classic textbook definition calls it the system used to direct and control a company. And I want you to really lock in on those two words, direction and control. They are basically two sides of the very same coin, and they are everything. So direction, that's the big picture stuff. It's the vision. It's asking, where are we even sailing and why are we going there? Control, on the other hand, is all about the nuts and bolts. It's making sure the ship is seaworthy, the crew knows what to do, and you don't run out of food and water. You absolutely need both. You can't have a destination without a ship that can get there. Okay, so we've got the what, but what about the who? Who are the people making all these decisions? And this brings us to a really critical distinction, the difference between the people who chart the course and the people who actually, sail the ship. This table really breaks it down. Governance is handled by the board of directors. There are captains. Their job is the high-level strategic stuff. They pick the destination. Then you have management, the crew, led by the CEO. Their job is the day-to-day work of actually getting there. It's pretty simple. The captains set the course, the crew sails the ship.
All right, so you've got your captains, you've got your crew. Now you just need a map, right? Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Because in the world of business, it turns out there isn't just one map to follow. There are a couple of major competing ideas on how you should navigate.
So on one hand, you've got a map called agency theory. This one points to one thing and one thing only. Get the most treasure possible for the ship's owners, the shareholders. Everything else comes second. But then there's another map, stakeholder theory. And this one says, whoa, hold on. You have to balance the interests of everyone who has a stake in the voyage. That means the owners, sure, but also the crew, your suppliers, even the people in the ports you visit. So, which map is the right one? Do you just go for the gold, or do you try to have a bigger purpose? Well, a lot of modern thinking says it doesn't have to be an either-or choice. There might just be a more balanced, a more enlightened way to go. And this is where this cool idea comes in, sometimes called the Robin Hood approach. The more formal name is enlightened shareholder value. The key idea here is that the goal isn't just to maximize profit right now. It's about building a ship and a crew and a reputation that can find treasure over and over again, sustainably for the long haul. So this has really become the modern navigational chart. And the logic is super simple. If you take care of your stakeholders, your crew, your relationships in port, the ship itself, you will ultimately create way more lasting wealth for the owners. It's not a trade-off, it's actually a win-win. Now, to make sure all of this actually works, to make sure the captain doesn't just sail off with all the treasure, every ship needs a clear code of conduct. You need rules that everyone understands and trusts. You got to keep an honest logbook. And it really boils down to four main principles. First, responsibility. The captains have to own their power and their decisions. Second, accountability. They have to be answerable for those decisions. Third, transparency. The ship's log has to be open for anyone to inspect. And finally, fairness. You have to treat all the ship's owners equally, whether they own one plank or half the ship. But look, just following the rules isn't quite enough, is it? The sea is unpredictable. A really good captain isn't just steering. They are constantly, and I mean constantly, scanning the horizon for storms. And in the business world, that's what we call risk management. And the process is just super logical when you think about it. First, you identify the risks. You see the storm clouds gathering. Then you assess them. Is this a little shower or a full-blown hurricane? Next, you mitigate. You change course or batten down the hatches. And finally, you just monitor. You never, ever stop watching the weather. So, we've covered what governance is, who does it, the different maps you can follow, and the rules of the sea. Let's bring it all home now. Why does any of this, steering the ship well, actually matter in the long run? Because here's the thing, a well-run ship, a company with really good governance, does so much more than just find treasure. It becomes legendary. It earns trust and a great reputation in every port it visits. It thinks not just about its own journey, but about the health of the seas it sails on. It's about building something that truly lasts.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Think about a company you really care about. Maybe it's where you work, a stock you own, or just a brand you love to support. If that company is a ship out there on the high seas, who is at the helm? And maybe more importantly, who's checking the map?